Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast for November 6th, 2024. This is episode 315. 50 more episodes to go for me to hit my secondary goal because my first goal I did not hit. This is stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser and dreamer Paul Green coming to you, sharing my journey, thoughts, and insights on what it's like to pursue a dream in my world in hopes that maybe it might encourage, inspire, or inform you in whatever dream you have. So I said that 50 more episodes would be my secondary goal because my initial goal was to do 365 episodes in a row. And I started this podcast at the end of November last year. So obviously we are in November and coming up to the end of it. However, I was so good. Oh my gosh. I got somewhere in the early 200s. I don't quite remember when I first missed a day. Or what it was that caused me to miss that day. It had something to do with travel. Maybe it was when I was in LA for a week. It just got harder. And that's no excuse, because that's the thing with goals. There's always going to be reasons not to do it. There's always excuses. There's always something coming up. And any goal is going to test the strength of our resolve. And I got a little off track for a couple of months. I kind of got in the habit of, missing a day here, and then I would miss a couple days, and then I would kind of chime in. And it almost got to the point where I was like, I've already messed this up. My goal was to do daily for a year. I didn't. And now I'm kind of off track. Yeah, who cares? I know I have a couple loyal fans and listeners out there, but, it's not like this is blowing up and blah, 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 right? So all of the rationale as to why it would be so easy to just stop and quit started seeping in. And then I had a choice to make. Am I going to double down? Am I going to just give in and quit? What am I going to do here? And I determined that I set out to do this, to put 365 episodes, daily episodes of me sharing my thoughts and insights, sharing my journey. And I messed it up. I didn't have daily, but I still did, but it was still pretty darn good. So what do I do here? And what I decided was I just need to regroup, pick myself back up, realize that I failed at the goal of 365 straight episodes. However, I could just regroup and recommit to doing daily until I get to 365 days. Which now that I'm at 315 means there's 50 days left. So that's going to land me like smack dab near Christmas. Matter of fact, it might be on Christmas when because there's there's days the 6th. So there's 30 more days there's 25 more days. Yeah, there's 25 more days in November and then 25 days. Man, wouldn't that be cool if day 365 was actually on Christmas Day? Oh, that's really going to test my resolve if I still do a podcast on holidays. But I will. So here I am sharing my journey and daily updates of what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing, what's going on in my life, and what I'm learning, and my thoughts and philosophies on all things related to a life journey, pursuing a dream, pursuing a goal. And, if it helps, that is fantastic. That is all that I really care about. in terms of my listeners, but my real motivation is purely internal, which is a personal challenge to myself to constantly override my own ego, my own insecurities, and really challenge myself to be transparent and to be vulnerable on a daily basis by expressing my thoughts and my feelings. And I'll tell you, it is a struggle some days, because there are definitely some days where I'm in my head and I'm just going, nobody really cares. I don't really have anything important to say. Why am I even doing this? Blah 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 blah. And those thoughts are so very real and can be such a challenge to overcome and override. And anybody out there pursuing a dream, you know full well that there is no shortage to the amount of negative self-talk, and in some cases, even negative external talk. There are plenty of people who are more than happy and willing to tell you why they think that you'll never be successful. I think was it Lady Gaga? I think there's a story about Lady Gaga to where some, dudes from her high school or maybe her college actually created a website or a Facebook group or something that said Lady Gaga will never be famous. just a pure hateful website or Facebook or whatever it was. And it really is just remarkable how much negativity there is. Again, not only externally, but then also the negative self-talk and trying to adjust the narrative that's going on in our own head has definitely been one of my most significant challenges. So here I am every single day just going, just pop on there, pop out another episode, just be vulnerable, share what you're thinking, share what you're feeling, and put it out for anybody in the world who has an internet connection to potentially find, and be open and okay with that. And that is no joke, but that is what I am up to. And so far, it has been a very interesting journey. And in terms of viewership and numbers, the podcast, hasn't, blown up by any stretch, but it has definitely led to some very interesting opportunities. One of which is my 2-person comedy show, the Midlife Crisis comedy show that I do with my buddy Josh Novi. And he and I had an incredible show tonight out at Desert Ridge Improv. It was our first time performing at that venue together. I had performed there before. I actually hosted a comedy show there maybe 6 or 7 months ago and had a great time. It's a really, really great venue. Everything was top notch. The staff was incredible. The sound guy, the manager, house manager, everybody was just so on top of it. We had a great setup. We had the mics, the sound, everything top notch. So that was really exciting, and we had a pretty decent turnout, all things considered. I think the final count was somewhere around 70. And, the venue's a little bigger. The venue seats about 300, but they did a really good job of seating everybody up near the front. And, it felt very full, even though it was actually probably only half full. But yeah, the venue, I mean, it didn't feel empty. It didn't feel half full. Which was great. I mean, it just felt like a full crowd. There was all of the seats up front were filled, so it just felt really good. And overall, the show went really fantastic. And this whole show that I do with Josh really came about because of the Paul Green comedy PaulCast. It just led to, first of all, because I had Josh Novi on the podcast, and that created, our chemistry. We just started to realize like, oh, we vibe. We have a good vibe on, how we communicate, how we talk. Similar sense of humor, kind of a lighthearted, sarcastic, sense of humor. And so he reached out to me after doing this podcast and said that he had a stroke of inspiration that he and I needed to do a podcast together. And when he initially invited me to do that, my thought was, well, I already am doing a daily podcast that only a few people listen to. Why do I need to start another one? When there's, gosh, so many millions and millions of podcasts out there. But I just went, hey, you want to know what? Josh is a cool guy. We had a good time. Sure, I'll do a podcast. And if he handles all the production side, which he's like, oh, I handle all the production side, no problem. I was like, all right, let's do it. So we started filming podcast episodes and just had so much fun. And Josh's idea was that we would do a podcast, but we would have a piano there. And then throughout the podcast, we would spontaneously break out into improvised songs about whatever we're talking about, which was just such a fun idea. And I love doing music improv. And so we started doing that. And then I also had on the podcast my good buddy and club owner and very funny comic, Jim Perry. He did my podcast, and actually we got to film that podcast episode at his comedy club, which was incredibly fun. And then he reached out to me and said, hey, if you're open to it, we'd love to give you an opportunity to produce a show at our comedy club, just whatever you want to do. And then it occurred to me, you want to know what? The podcast that me and Josh are doing, the Midlife Crisis Comedy Podcast, would actually work great as a live show where instead of us just talking to each other, we actually bring on a member of the audience and talk to them and improvise a song about them. And improvising songs about audience members is sort of my specialty. I've been doing that for years and years and years. Whenever I headline a comedy show, I bring my piano and I improvise songs about audience members, and it's just super, super fun. And so we incorporated that into the Midlife Crisis Comedy Show, and now we have been just really working on building a brand, getting monthly shows wherever we can, and our goal right now is to have a monthly show at 4 different venues that we can. So we're pretty much doing a show every week, but at different parts of the Phoenix Valley. So Desert Ridge was a chance for us to go. Desert Ridge is like the North Phoenix area. So that was like a chance for us to go in sort of the north part of Phoenix. We pretty much do a monthly at JP's, although we weren't able to get the timing right for November, which is a bummer. But so anyways, so we have a monthly at JP's, and then our goal is like if we can get a monthly up at Desert Ridge, and then we're looking at a couple of other potential venues in sort of the broader Phoenix Valley. We're doing a show in Yuma, Arizona. So we might be able to get that to be a monthly show. So it would be like, 1 week we're at JP's, the other week we're at Desert Ridge, and then 1 week we're down in Yuma, and then, we're still trying to figure out what the next venue is, but all really exciting stuff. And I really feel like a lot of that was because of me doing these daily podcasts. So, even though, these episodes aren't going viral or anything like that, it's so important. I have just learned, again, whatever you're pursuing, is that you got to do something. You got to put in the work. And if you put in the work, maybe the outcome or the output isn't necessarily what you anticipated, but there will be an outcome. And surely there will be an outcome that will be more favorable than the alternative, which is doing nothing. So here we are, 315 episodes in, and, I'm just sticking with it, everybody. Just sticking with it. So last night was super great, or I'm saying last night because I know I'm releasing this late, which probably means you're listening to this in the morning. So yeah, had a great time at Desert Ridge. Today's going to be an interesting day. I am going to be, speaking of podcasts, I got invited to be a guest on a podcast called Dating Exposed, which is produced by these two women who I think they came to a midlife crisis comedy show, or they might have just come. I know I met them at JP's Comedy Club. I just don't remember if they came to a midlife crisis comedy show or if they came to a regular stand-up show there. But yeah, I was talking to them after the show, and they talked about this podcast that they do about dating, and a lot of my material is about dating. And so, they just thought it would be fun to have me on as a guest. I guess I'm their first one. So there you go. I get to be the first guest on the Dating Exposed podcast, which will be really fun. I feel like I have a lot of insight in that area since I've been single most of my life. And I have made every conceivable mistake that you can make in the dating marketplace. And I've had to do so much work and so much growth and, whatever, just to get to the point to where now I have an amazing girlfriend, and very much grateful for her and to be in a relationship. And we've been dating since about late June. So what's that, pushing about 4 or 5 months? So I'm looking forward to this podcast because I feel like I can kind of go in there with a little bit of I earned some stripes, but I've had some successes, and, I'm in this success story right now. So that should be really fun. And it's just another opportunity to say yes to something and to, connect with other podcasters, connect with other creative, people who are out there, putting out content. And, it's just fun opportunities. And what I'm finding more and more is just the more you do, the more opportunities will come to you. And if you can just say yes and not overthink it and just go, okay, well, I don't really need to be on a dating podcast specifically. I have a girlfriend now, whatever. Like, it would be so easy to turn those opportunities down, or just to go, hey, this is an opportunity to get my name out there in a different context, talk about, my experiences and have a good time and bring my personality and insights and help support some other artists who are, going through the work of producing a podcast. I've watched some clips of their podcast. They do a really great job. They're really well produced, high quality video, high quality audio, and, good editing and everything. Oh, by the way, I failed to mention, so I've been only doing audio these last couple of episodes, and that's because I brought all of my light boxes over to Josh Novi's house because we filmed some podcast episodes earlier this week. And so he has all my lighting, and so I would be doing video in the dark if I tried to do video. So Anyway, everybody, things are going very well. I'm so grateful for all of these cool opportunities, the opportunity to perform, everybody who supported me on the way, um, and to just start to see the humble beginnings of this comedy show that I'm doing, and starting to see audience members take an interest and want to come out and buy a ticket, even though they don't know who we are, and but they see the concept, they saw the ads or whatever, and decided to give it a chance. And so that's really exciting, and very grateful for that. So whatever it is you're out there doing, everybody, just keep doing it. Don't quit. Take opportunities. If you stumble as you fall, if you set a goal and you miss a couple days, or you miss a this or you miss a that, don't let that discourage you. Just regroup, hop back on the horse, reframe the goal, do whatever it is that you need to do, and keep moving forward, because there are some pretty awesome experiences to be had. All right, everybody, I'm going to leave it there. This is the Paul Green Comedy Podcast, episode 315 for November 6th, 2024. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.